when it comes to pleasure, there are a lot of messages about out in the world, and maybe these are things that maybe these are things that you've heard from people in generations who are older than you, and you don't really believe them, but they're in there, okay? They are a voice inside of you. And you repeat it. Don't be too noisy. Don't be so loud. Don't be too much. You have to take care of other people. This is one I hear a lot from women. Men need it more than I do, or my husband needs it more than I. So I'm just going to give him the sex that he wants to make him happy. And I'll just deal with it. So part of that inner voice is his pleasure is more important than my pleasure, or he needs it more than I do, which is not true. And so there are things that you might be saying to yourself that get in the way of you expressing yourself. What you're saying to yourself can get in the way of you expressing yourself out in the world, in your partnership, in your bed, to your lover. So if you're telling yourself something like, I can't have pleasure, I'm too busy, I've got to take care of my kids, my husband is like a kid, I have all these people to take care of, I have to get everything done before I can have pleasure, or I have to get everything done before I can even indulge in something for myself, right? All of that stuff is what is getting in the way of you having what you really want. And look, that doesn't make you wrong or bad. It's not some version of misbehaving that you're doing when these are the things that you say to yourself. And there's an opportunity for you to have a different dialogue. And that's where this question about what are you listening to comes in. Because if you're in an environment where you are listening to the same shit that got you to where you are now, that is not the stuff that is going to support you to shift into a new mindset, into a new inner dialogue, into a new set of actions. Because it honestly doesn't matter if I gave you a 10-step plan for perfect orgasms every single day and, sexual empowerment from now until the day you die. If your inner voice is, I can't have that, then you're not going to do any of the steps. If your inner voice says, oh, that's a luxury and I can't have that until I do all of the chores, then you're not going to do any of the steps. So it's your inner dialogue, what you say to yourself, the voice that you use with yourself, that is probably the most important element of all the pieces of your voice. What you say out there is really amazing and powerful, and using your voice to open up is a brilliant technique. But the real transformation comes when you transform how you talk to yourself. And so when I ask this question, what are you listening to? The question really is about who are you listening to? What coaches or gurus or, leaders, thought leaders are you listening to help you reframe and reform your inner dialogue so that you are having a conversation with yourself that is the version of you that really wants to come out, right? The version of you that you really do. You really are the pleasure queen, where you talk to yourself like a pleasure queen, like you really do get to have the pleasure you desire, that you do get to be confident in the bedroom, out of the bedroom, that you really are allowed to wear the very sexy, skimpy summer dress on a Zoom call on a Saturday morning, where the voice that says, it is okay for you to have a mimosa at brunch. You get to have that treat. You get to wear the red dress and the red lipstick and be seen. You get to be selfish in your own pleasure. It's okay for you to approve of yourself. Yeah, this is okay. I'm okay. I approve of myself. That's the kind of dialogue that's going to move the needle for you. Remember I said yesterday, there was a question in the chat yesterday about can you make me want to have sex? And if you didn't see my full answer, I want you to go back to yesterday's replay and look at that. It was towards the end. But what I really want to point out is the dialogue of, can you make me want to have sex, right? So, there's no shame, no judgment to the person who asked this question. But what we can tell by the language is that there's this expectation that either I have to want sex, right? Or that there's something not right with me about where I'm at. And that's why it was so important for me to reframe that question and actually create a space for the possibility that you just don't want the sex that is currently available. And so let's ask a bigger, broader question, which is, what is the sex that I want? Right? And so it's reframing, and it is, reorienting to, what do you really want? Which is inherently a question that says, you get to have the pleasure that you desire. You get to have it. What do you want? And you get to have it. That is my stand for you. And so when I ask you, who are you listening to? My question for you is are you listening to people who are going to take a stand for you and are going to say, you get to have the pleasure that you desire? And I am cheering you on, and I see that it's possible for you. I believe it. Like, it's already done in the universe. And all there is for you to say yes. Or are you listening to people who are telling you that you need to hustle and grind and get all this stuff down, and you need to work hard to play hard, and you need to please the people around you, and you need to sacrifice yourself for somebody else? So who are you listening to? People have asked me in my lifetime, especially as I've been doing this work, they'll ask me, like, how did you get to be so comfortable to talk about the subject? And I told them that I surrounded myself with people who were more confident than me. I surrounded myself with people whose language was broader and deeper than my own, whose knowledge base was broader and deeper than my own, and who could talk about these subjects and use all the words that I wanted to use, and they were using it with ease. So if what you really want is to have peak pleasure and confidence, peak pussy pleasure and confidence, if what you want is to consistently have regular, beautiful, easy orgasms that are toe curling and mind blowing and full body, come work with me. Come play with me in pleasure school, where I'm going to show you exactly how to get turned on so that you can get off and have that peak pussy pleasure and confidence. But more importantly, so that you are surrounded by messages and dialogue and conversation and input that reorients you to pleasure is good and great. I get to have pleasure. This is the woman that I am. I am a pleasure queen. I get to have the pleasure that I deserve. My role as a coach is about supporting you to interrupt the old inner dialogue and replace it with a new dialogue, a new way of thinking, to move yourself from an idea of I want something into action, and then into the result that is having what you truly desire.